Hi, let's see. I think it's on mute still. Oh, wait. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, got it.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Sorry about that. I was gonna wait closer to 2 o'clock, send it.
Oh, it's okay. I was just making sure. I was like, because I had like somebody else invite me to do a podcast earlier today, and they were like, "Oh, I need your phone number, or else I need you to set up like a Zoom and request me." And I was like, "That's not how this works. This is your podcast. You tell me,
Yeah,
you send me the link." So,
yeah. No, trust me. I last couple days, like I had one yesterday, and I sent the guy like we had it at 4. I sent it at 3:50. He showed
yeah.
up at 4:10. He was like, "Ooh, sorry, I forgot." I was like, "No big deal. I just wanted to make sure, like, I didn't want to be too early by sending it."
Oh no, no, all good.
If you're cool with it, we talk about upcoming with
Hold on real
AW.
quick. I gotta turn this off. I don't know how Google works. Hey Google, turn off. I am not tech savvy.
No, you're good.
Sorry, I don't understand. Oh my gosh. Turn off. You know what? Here, unplug it. That works.
There you go. It's awesome. So
Okay.
let's talk about AEW a little bit and then kind of go into your career and then kind of like just you wrestling wise.
Oh, okay. You
That's
don't, yeah, you have questions or no?
well, yeah, I have some stuff written down. So I was gonna
Okay,
go,
cool.
yeah, well, just NWA about being on an all women's pay per view, kind of talking about that and women's wrestling today. So
Okay.
just kind of go off from there and see where we go.
Okay.
All right, cool. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Hello, everybody. Today I have a very special guest with me. Christy, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. So,
Good.
any exciting plans for the next couple weeks coming up? Anything?
Yeah, I am on the road every weekend. I've been home for like 2 days. So I leave on Thursday, I go to Florida. I'm there for 2 days. And then from Florida, I go to Texas. And then from Texas, I go to Tijuana. And then I'm back here for 2 days. And then I leave again. Hold on, I go somewhere. I'm like, I'm gone. I'm wrestling. That's all I know. I have like, I'm old school, so I have like this huge planner. People are like, "You old lady." Yes, I am. Most people keep it on their phone, but my phone is known to break and get lost. So then I'd lose my whole life. And people are like, "Oh, you can back it up on like Google Drive and stuff." I'm like, "What is that?" I didn't even know how to turn off my little Google Spot thing. As you noticed when we first started, I had to unplug it. I'm not tech savvy. I'm an old lady, and I'm proud to be an old lady. So let's open up the planner and see what we got on the docket. We have, here we go. Yeah, so I have CCW this Friday, this Saturday, and then WAW, which is out of Texas. Then next weekend, and then I have Tijuana, a small little company that a lot of the people from the Crash work at. And then next week on Thursday, I leave for Denver. I have Rocky Mountain Pro on the 29th. I have AEW Pro on the 30th. And then I have OCW in Florida for Halloween Day. And then I go to Mexico for like 4 days. And then I have CCW in Delaware. And then what do I have? I have to go back to Mexico. I have the Crash there and AAA. And then the following week, I have to go back to Mexico. I'll just stay in Mexico. Uh, so yeah, that's my life. That's my life, Mexico, pretty
Wow,
much.
that's a lot of traveling.
Yeah,
How
I
do you
love
do
it
it?
though.
How do you do it?
I don't. I just do it. I get up and do it. Like I knew this is what I wanted to do with my life. And when COVID happened, I was very fortunate that AEW was booking me almost every single week and every weekend. So I was in Florida and Jacksonville a lot. And unlike a lot of wrestlers that weren't able to wrestle, which I feel very bad for them because, you know, when you're used to that grind, that load, the workload, and that's how you pay your bills, when it goes from a whole bunch to nothing, it's very depressing. I had that happen to me for like 2 weeks. I know people are like, 2 weeks, wow. But like even 2 weeks of not wrestling, not training, not doing anything, it definitely like sets in. You sit there and you're like, I've built my whole career around this and now I can't even do what I love. You know, so I was very fortunate during COVID that I had AEW that was booking me and using me regularly, and that was nice. So, but it wasn't like it is now. But yeah, I always tell everyone, no matter how tired I am at getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and catching these 5:30, 6 a.m. flights, I'm very grateful that I am able to do what I love.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what just happened there. Oh, were you
Oh,
there?
I'm here. I was talking the whole
No,
time
I
too.
heard that. I don't know
Oh,
what
okay.
just happened. That's interesting. Um,
Your home warranty company is trying to reach you.
no, it's that was really weird. I'm sorry about that. I have absolutely no idea. Let's see. Um, took me out of the Zoom. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Took me out of the Zoom meeting. It said you have an update, and I was like, that's weird. So
Oh, did it
no,
record it?
yeah, no, we got it. I could just edit it out.
Okay.
So
I'm
perfect.
like, I don't remember what I said.
No, it was good.
I didn't write a script.
No, you're good. I didn't either. I kind of just go off what you say and go from there. So
Love it.
with AEW bringing you in during the pandemic, you got
Yeah.
to wrestle like without fans. How is that?
It's just like training. I mean, that's what you do. You know, when you train, all you have is other fellow wrestlers around and your trainers there. So it was fine. It was normal. I'm like, I do this on a daily basis. So it wasn't any different for me. I didn't feel like weird or out of place. You know, it was just like another day. Um, and then because people are always like, oh, you got to experience it with fans and without fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, they're all, well, which one do you prefer? Obviously with the fans, right? Because you get their energy and, you know, the crowd and everything. But the interesting thing about me, I have stage fright. And I know you'd never guess, right? But I do. And it's so weird because once my music hits, it's like I'm a totally different person. I'm just transported into Christi Jaynes mode. And I actually, with fans or no fans, I don't see, like, I know there's people in my peripheral vision and I know there's like people around, but I don't focus on that. I'm just focused and honed in on my opponent and on the referee. Like, that's it. So even when I come out to these huge crowds, it's like I don't really know they're there, and people are always like, really? Because you talk to them, you interact with them, and it's like, yeah, I have no idea. Like, I know that I'm interacting with somebody, but it's not like I'm actually focused in on them. So whenever people are like, you looked right at me, I'm like, did I though? Really? Do you know these lights? They're like, boom, and they're blinding. And it's like, you can't, it's just a sea, right, of people. And I think I take that and I applied it with the no fans, right? Because it's like, I know there's people there, but there's not really people there, right? For me. So when I go out there and there was no fans there and it was just, you know, trainees or like other wrestlers, I didn't really like it wasn't a huge difference for me because my music hit and I was in Christi Jaynes mode, and it was like, okay, I focused on my opponent and on the referee, and that was it. And everything else just kind of happens. So most people are like, oh my gosh, it was so weird. I'm like, not really. It's just like every day is the normal. It's normal.
Yeah. Did you have any like favorite moments working with AEW?
Yeah, I've had most of them came from like the people I met and the feedback I got. So people always say, don't go around asking everyone for feedback, right? Or critiques on your matches and stuff like that. Uh, because you should only ask people that you look up to and that you would really take advice from, right? Because not really about them or their style, then you're really not going to fully take what they say. So I remember my very first match at AEW was at the HEB Arena in Cedar. Oh my gosh, I forget what it's called, but it was HEB Arena in Texas, and it was right outside of Austin, Cedar Park. That's it, Cedar Park Arena, and it was against Big Swole. And I was like, more than anything, it was a little starstruck, right? Because Dustin Rhodes was my agent, and I was like, oh my gosh, Rhodes, like this is awesome. So a little starstruck for that, but like, you know, my music hit and everything, and I went out there and I did my thing. And when I came to the back, I was like, okay, do you have any critiques? And he was like, no, you're really good. I was like, what? Like, I'm not used to that. You know, I'm used to people, especially in the indie scene, always being like, oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you did this, like always critiquing you and getting down on you. And he was like, no, that was awesome. Like, that was great. And then Chris Jericho came up to me and he was like, that you have the it factor. Like you're it. He's like, you're the whole package. I was like, wow, like I look up to Chris Jericho. I look up to Dustin Rhodes. And to hear that from people that you think that you may never meet, right? To actually being your mentors there or being your agent and telling you like, you did so good. And like, you know, and they like, it was weird. It was just really weird for me. But I think that was one of like my best experiences being there, was being able to connect with them and hear what they had to say. Like even after my matches, when I didn't have matches, I would just ask them like, you know, what should I be doing or this or that? And the feedback from them was always very positive. That is, you know, and then Jerry Lynn was like, he's amazing. First off, I'm a huge Jerry Lynn fan. I'm a huge Jerry Lynn RVD fan. So like that, I think was my, like the best experience I had, was being able to work closely with these legends, as people call them, but with these people that are really, really good at what they do, and just know that they think that you are able to hang with them. Like that's cool. And the fact when I had my match with Sheeta, I do a lion salt, which everyone knows, you know, it's Chris Jericho's move. It's Lionheart, right? Like, come on, like everyone knows that's what he does. And a lot of moves, signature moves, are protected. But it was great because I was telling them, I'm like, okay, because with TV, you have to tell them any big move so they can get that shot, right? And so I told them, oh, I think I'm going to do a lion salt. I'm not sure though, but if I do it, like, just know, like, I'm going to do a lion salt. And they're like, well, I don't know if you can. And I was like, well, no, I can do it. I don't know if I'm allowed to do it. Because it's not a question of if I can or can't do it, because I can do it. I do it all the time, right? It's a question of, are you allowed to do it? So I went and asked Chris. I was like, hey, Chris, I don't know if I'm going to do a lion salt, but if I do it, are you okay with it? And he goes, well, is it good? I'm like, I think so. Well, that's all I do is follow style. I tell people like I don't do flippy stuff. I follow style, right? Um, and he was like, well, if it's good, then yeah, I'll tell everyone I told you it was okay to do it. He's like, but if it's bad, there's no way. So anyways, in the middle of the match, it was like, oh, we have time. They're like, oh, you have more time. And I was like, okay, lion salt. So I did the lion salt, right? And then what happened with Sheet on TNT happened. But then after the match, he came right up to me and he was all, that was beautiful. You can do that all the time. I was like, oh, thank you. I'm like, yay. So yeah, Chris Jericho gave me the okay on the lion salt because it was a good looking lion salt and I didn't mess it up. So that was like a really special moment for me too. And then I do the Jerry Lynn leg drop. I call it the Falls of Jerry. Everyone knows I'm from Brazil, so a lot of my moves are named after Brazilian sites and stuff like that. Like I do the Redemption, which is named after Christi Jaynes. I don't know if you know what that is. It's the Christ, So I do the Redemption. I pick them up and they look like the big Christ. And then, I throw them. So it's called the Redemption. So Iguisa Falls. So I was like, oh, the Falls of Jerry, right? So it's great. It's his leg drop. He does a springboard leg drop thing. So yeah, I asked Jerry, I was like, hey, I do this leg drop off the ropes. And he was like, yeah, let me teach you how to do it. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you, Jerry. So that was really cool to see the different side of wrestling. Because on the indies, people are super protective of their moves. And it's like everyone throws a super kick, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're in a match with somebody that throws a super kick, they're like, oh, you can't throw a super kick. And it's like, everyone throws a super kick. There's 20 of them in one match. Yep. Come on, and they're like, no, that's my shit. And it's like, okay. But it was really cool to see these legends and they still all wrestle. And they're like, oh yeah, go ahead. No problem. Let me show you how to do it. So it's done correctly. It's not oh, I don't want to help you because I don't want you to get better mentality. It's more of a, let me help you get better. Here's my hand. Let me lift you up. And I love that. And that's that I will carry that whole experience for the rest of my life. Those are my good memories of AEW.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So with the legends, I'd say, is there anybody that you wish you could wrestle right now that maybe isn't wrestling?
KUWTI Suzuki, but she just came back. I don't know if people know this. She doesn't wrestle. She's like a manager now. She's an agent for a company in Japan. But it would be KUWTI Suzuki. She's awesome. I think she's great. That doesn't wrestle. I don't know. I mean, I would say, because I've wrestled Gail Kim. I've wrestled Jazz multiple times. Mickie James is wrestling. I've never wrestled her, but you said somebody that doesn't wrestle. So, Mickie James does wrestle. I'd love to wrestle her, but she is wrestling. Who isn't wrestling right now that I'd like to wrestle? Bullcana. Guys too.
Why not?
You're all, yeah, let's do that. Ric Flair. I'd love to wrestle Ric Flair. Scott Hall. Love to wrestle him. I know people are like, what? I do a lot of his mannerisms in the ring. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think he's a great wrestler. So yeah, I'd like to wrestle him. Who else would I like to wrestle? I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that I would love to wrestle, whether or not people nowadays would be like, oh, that's not politically correct or whatever. Like, I'd love to wrestle Benoit, and people are like, oh, he's an asshole, he killed his whole family. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't take away from the fact he was a great wrestler.
Mhm.
I mean, he could have been, he's dead, but like, he could have been a psychopath, but like, he's a great wrestler. I'd still love to wrestle him, Eddie, I'd love to wrestle Eddie. Who else? Blue Demon, Dos Caras, a few luchadors, right? Mystico, the first one. Rey Mysterio, but he still wrestles, right? Yeah. So it's like I can't really, I'm like, yes and no.
Yeah.
Garza, like the original Garza. I'd like to wrestle Conan, even though he just recovered from having some heart complications. Mm-hmm. Do you think he'd get in a ring? I know him. I've asked him before. He just laughs at me. I'm like, yeah, you're not getting in the ring again. He's all, well, no. Like, yeah, let me wrestle you. So yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. But wrestle. So Mickie James, you said it because she still wrestles.
She does.
Yeah.
So
it could be a chance.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like, definitely, I think I will get an opportunity to wrestle her. But she still wrestles. You said somebody that doesn't wrestle, which is weird because most of the people I want to wrestle are either dead or they're on their way out or they still wrestle. So.
Yeah. So is there one person that still wrestles right now? It's on the top of your list.
Someone that's still right now that's at the top of my list. Not one person in particularly, kind of like a whole bunch of people. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'd like to have a match with Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Matt Sydal. I think Matt is amazing.
I just interviewed.
I think even at AEW, they hold him back from what he can truly do, because it's TV, so there's only so much time you get. He's amazing. There's a lot of people. Suzuki, like Mickey, Mysterio, Phoenix, Penta. Maybe not Penta. Penta's really hard. Yeah, I'd like to wrestle Penta. Why not? He'd beat my ass. But sure, let's do that. I'd love to have a death match with Masada. He would never have a death match with me, though, ever. I don't think he'd ever have a match with me either. So we're friends. That's why he won't. He's already told me in the past. I'm like, I want to have a match with you. He's like, no, I'm not hurting you. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, no, I could never skewer you. Like, let's go. He's like, no. So, I mean, I would love to have a match with him. Absolutely. Jimmy Lloyd, I'd like to have a match with him. Who else? Mickey Knuckles. Do you know who she is?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm gonna get paid for it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. There are so many wrestlers out there that it's just like, how do you remember everyone's names? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a very face person. Like, I see a picture and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to wrestle them. And they're like, oh, but you never said that. And I'm like, I know because I forgot their name. Do you know how many wrestlers are out there?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Alex Shelley, I'd like to wrestle him. He's really, really good wrestler. Who else haven't I said? Charlotte Flair, Mickie James, Malia. I'd like to wrestle Jazz again. I would like to have a one-on-one with Allison Kay. I did a tag match or a three-way match with her, but I feel like I like three-way matches, but I don't feel like you can get that great story, like the back and forth chaining or like the nitty gritty, you know, like I'd love to have that with her. I think it would be great. Who else? Like there's so many. There's so many like new women coming out too. And they're just awesome. Like one of my favorite people though to wrestle is Jay Serious. He is amazing. He's Texas indie. I've trained with him, but just the way his brain works is awesome. The fact he's not signed it's crazy actually. The fact he's not an agent somewhere or writing stories for somebody is like crazy. This guy is great. And I know there's a lot of people that are and I say, and I'm like, no, like you don't understand. This person is amazing. Like 100% absolutely amazing. Like he can have a match with anyone, any size, doesn't matter. He'll have the crowd on their feet. His storylines are amazing. Like he's just great. He can do any and every style. Like he's awesome. If people don't know who he is, they should go find out who he is.
Yes. So, yes, absolutely. So I left speechless. So I don't even know how to move on from that. That was really good. So
sorry.
No, you're good.
I just talk and ramble sometimes.
No, it's fine. So women's wrestling right now is super big. And within the last 5 years, we've seen a big shift. Why do you think right now it's the big shift, and what makes it so special?
I think that it's a lot. I say I think a lot. It's women's wrestling probably, or anything. How do I say this without people being like, oh, she's like a women's activist or whatever? It's not about that. She's a feminist. It's not that. It's we as female are allowed to, and I hate saying that we're allowed to, but it's true because women's suffrage has come so far, right? In the past like 100 years, it's crazy. And even 100 years is not that much time ago, even though we're like, oh my gosh, 100 years takes forever. It doesn't. It goes by like that, you know? But women's suffrage has come so far. Women were not allowed to do things that we are allowed to do now. And the fact that people have, unfortunately, the male population has been like, oh yeah, you know what, maybe we should, they can do this, we should give them more time, or this should be able. It's unfortunate that it does have to come down to men saying yes, it's okay for them to do that. And once they opened that door, right, and said, oh, we'll give them a little bit more, oh, we'll do this, oh, we'll do that, they have started to realize that, wow, like women are just as badass as men, if not more, so whoever that woman was that got that man to say, yes, let's allow women to do this in wrestling, thank you so much, because you have allowed us to show the world that we can hang. We are just as good. We are very entertaining. And we are more than just pretty faces. We're more than just a good looking body to look at. We can be both, and we can do it. We can do it all, right? So I think that is why it has changed in the past 5 years, because a man came along and went, okay, let's allow it. Mm-hmm. Because let's just admit it, if men were to say no, they would shut the whole thing down. Like, it's sad to say, but it's true. And it's not a feminist point of view. It's reality, people. Reality, right? Women have fought for it, but it wouldn't have gone anywhere if men would have went, shut it down, you know?
Yeah.
So that is why I think women's wrestling has come so far. And I do also believe that if women would have sucked at what they were doing, it would have been shut down, right? So first they needed somebody to believe in them, to actually believe it would happen and come true and they could be good. And then secondly, they needed to find the women that were willing to put the time and effort into it. Because I do a Twitch channel, and if you've watched any of my beginning Twitch streams, I watch a lot of 1930s, 1940s women's wrestling, and they are good. They are good. Some of their matches are better than anything I've seen on TV from any woman right now. Like, they are damn good, like really good, but they weren't allowed to progress. They weren't allowed to be that main event because men were just like, no. They kept shutting them down. But somebody came along that said, yeah, I think it's time. We're going to open that up. And so I highly encourage you and other wrestling fans to just type in women's wrestling 1930, 1940 and watch it. The story is there. It's crazy. I mean, super unsafe, but it is wild to watch them. I've watched it and I've taken some of their stuff and I've used it and applied it in my matches. But they were great back then. Women have always been really, really good. We just had to have somebody that believed enough in us to open that door for us to do it.
Yeah.
So
now that door's open, now you guys are running all women show pay-per-views. So
right?
how's that to be on there?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's start off. Let's go back, regress. So the NWA has had Brazilians or people of Brazilian heritage, or just decided to make that their storyline on all male, by the way, no females, to be part of the NWA. And they were never really part of the NWA. They were never contracted with them. They were only brought in for like 1 or 2 times. And although people know who they are, they weren't, one of them was not even a Brazilian, just so you know, but he was labeled like the Brazilian Destroyer or something like that. But he wasn't even Brazilian or from Brazil at all. Like, none of his family was from Brazil. And the other one was like a Brazilian boxer that they brought in. So he wasn't like a wrestler, right, per se. And they only brought him in like a few times. So he was never like fully contracted with the NWA, and he was a boxer. He wasn't a wrestler. They brought him in for like a guest appearance, like they did with Bad Bunny and stuff, right? So we all know that stuff. Yeah. And then the other one wasn't even Brazilian. He was like a straight up white guy. So, and they just gave him the story of he was from Brazil. So then on top of that, no one in the NWA started, they got a bunch of different promotions together, and they made NWA, right? And then they needed a place to wrestle. So the guy that ran the TV company in St. Louis also owned the Chase Hotel. And they had this ballroom, the Coruscant Ballroom that everyone knows. And that's where NWA started doing their tapings, was there, right? Because they needed TV, and this guy had the TV, and they needed a place to do it at, and it was his hotel. So Wrestling at the Chase was created, and they still had no real Brazilian there, ever. And then they stopped. They stopped taping there for, what was it, 37 years, maybe a little longer than that. So now here comes the NWA back again. And here comes Mickie James. And she wants that beautiful all women's pay-per-view, which couldn't have a better place of doing it at than the Coruscant Ballroom at the Chase after so many years of no one wrestling there, right? And we happened to run Empowered, that pay-per-view, before the men's NWA 70 was ran there. Mm-hmm. So they set up the ring and everything, and us women got to go in there, got to step in the ring before the men ever did. So, and then on top of it, when they called me, I am the first Brazilian female actually born in Brazil, still has family in Brazil, speaks fluent Portuguese, go back all the time, am a wrestler to wrestle there. And not only that, me and Sky Blue had the very first match at the Coruscant, like the very first match. So it was first a historic moment because I am the first Brazilian, actual Brazilian, to wrestle for the NWA, to wrestle in the Coruscant Ballroom, to be the very first female, all-female pay-per-view for the NWA, which is super unheard of because women do not, they don't main event the NWA. So NWA is very blue-collared, old school. So that was cool. And it was cool that I got to represent my country. And I think it's amazing that the NWA has such a strong woman figure that she actually was. So when she was at WWE and WWF at the time, she was there in a time where panties and bra matches, lingerie matches were still huge. And she actually took the time to learn how to wrestle. Her and Jazz and Melina and Trish and a few other of the girls there, they actually, Beth, Victoria, a few of the girls there took their time to learn how to do it, even though they knew the chances of them getting a match outside of lingerie matches was very slim. And if they did get one, it was going to be like 5 minutes, if that, or cut down to 2 or 3, right? So they took their own time to learn how to do it. So it's great that you have somebody that backs up women, that knows that they are good enough and they should be showcased at the NWA. So it's awesome. And she is a trailblazer for women's wrestling. So it's also great that she's the one that's kind of leading the pack at the NWA for women right now.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. So with Sky Blue, you guys are going to be at AEW on October 30th.
Yes.
In a tag team match where the fans bring the weapons.
Yes. Which I just heard there's stipulations to these weapons. So I'm like, okay.
Interesting. I did not know that. So
yeah, so apparently the venue where we're at, they do not allow light tubes. Or glass.
Oh.
Right? So I'm like, wait. So yeah, no glass, no light tubes. I just we found out they have a bunch of stipulations you can't do. So yeah, so they don't allow light tubes, they don't allow glass. I heard that. So everything has to be cans, plastic.
So yeah. Before finding that out, did you want glass and light tubes?
Yeah. I'm like, why not? Let's go all out. Let's do it.
So would you ever be in a death match then? Like if you could do, would you do multiple death matches if you could?
I have done death matches. Okay. Yeah, I did. I was just in the Goddess of War for Crimson Crown Wrestling. Okay. I went up against Ludark. She crucified me. Very blasphemous, I know, but this is wrestling. You guys join the pack. We are not normal in wrestling. I actually let me grab it. Hold on. my hair is still attached to it in some places. This and my blood is still on it. She made a barbed wire crown, just like the one made of thorns for Christ. See, my hair's still attached to it. Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
She crucified me, and she definitely put that on my head. Jimmy Lloyd had to pick this out of my hair. It's real barbed wire, and there's real barbs on it, as you can see. So yes, I have done a death match. That's why I was like, oh yeah, like Mickey Knuckles does death matches. Masada, I was like, yeah, let me do a match with Masada. I want to do a match with Jimmy Lloyd. Masada won't. He's just, him and I are really good friends. We have really good connections in wrestling and stuff, family wise and stuff. And he's just like, no, you're like a little sister to me. I can't skewer you. He's all, are you kidding me? I can't do that. So yeah, I think there's an art to death matches that people don't see. And I feel like there's beauty in everything, even in something as so gruesome as people doing death matches. And I particularly love the ones that are like, women shouldn't do death matches because they're delicate and they're beautiful. And this goes back to men suppressing women. I'm not a feminist, I promise, but you asked the question of why do you think women have just blown up so much in the past 5 years? And it's honestly because the patriarchy has allowed us to. And that's it. There's nothing else to it. Women are delicate. We are beautiful. We are flowers, but so are men. And I think that there's this huge stigma that men feel like, oh, we're not strong if we're seen as delicate. And that's not true, because women are looked at as being delicate flowers, but yet we can go just as hard as men. And actually our pain tolerance is higher than men. And that's what people, fail to realize is women's pain tolerance can supersede a man's. Like, yeah, we may biologically break easier than a man. Some women are biologically built different, their bone structures and stuff, but so are men. Right? So to me, there is beauty in everything. And to watch a man and a woman have a death match together, or even wrestle as far as intergender wrestling goes, I think there's a huge stigma that the patriarchy has built around it. And yes, I do not condone abuse and stuff, but this is wrestling. And people know, like, we know now what we know about wrestling, right? Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's real, but majority of it is scripted until something happens wrong in your match and everything becomes unscripted, which happens more than you guys think it does. So when people are like, oh yeah, but this was all planned, it's like, it started off that way and then it did not. Even on TV, like I told you, I didn't know if I was going to do a lion salt or not. And then they added time and it was like, oh, I got to fill this. How am I going to fill it? Oh, I know, I'm just going to do this. And it's like, oh, okay, here she comes. Like, what is going on? And then there's filler and no one really knows. Like, there's no way to communicate that unless you talk to somebody, but then people hear you. So if the patriarchy allows us women to start doing more death matches, I think people need to view it as a beautiful thing and not as abuse, as happens in the world out there, right? It's the man and the woman are going into this and they consent to getting into a fight. I'm not Ronda Rousey, of course. So the story I'm going to tell is not me beating the shit out of a guy, because Ronda can do that, but I cannot. Okay. There are some men I could do that to, but there's men I can't, you know, and a punch hurts, whether it comes from a woman or a man, like it hurts. So I think when the patriarchy allows it to be normalized, this will seem and look very normal to people. So yeah, I love death matches. I love hardcore matches. I feel like when people get hurt, genuinely get hurt, or have some type of pain inflicted upon them, it brings out a different level to them, right? And when that raw emotion or energy gets put into a match, that it doesn't matter how good of an actor or actress you are, that energy, people can feel real energy. And when that gets put into a match, it's like a whole different level. It's explosive, you know?
Yeah, no, trust me, I get it. I'm not a wrestler, but you guys go through the pain. I enjoy watching you guys do deathmatch stuff, so it's fine with me.
Yeah.
So before I wrap things up, I want to ask, if there's something that you want to be remembered for in your career, like when you're said and done and you look back on it, what do you want the fans to realize about you?
That I always tried to help everyone in wrestling coming up. That's it. People are like, oh, you don't want to be the GOAT? No, I could care less. I want people to remember me as Christi literally went out of her way to help everyone in that locker room. Because that's really what it's about. Like, when the lights turn off and the curtain closes and the fans disperse, like, you are left with yourself. You're left with your mind and with who you treated shitty that day and who you didn't treat shitty that day. And we are all the same. Like, outside of that ring, like, we are all the same. Like, when I take my gear off, me sitting here doing this, like, we are essentially the same. And if you're not a good person or a nice person or helping people, then what was your life for? What, a few materialistic things that you can't take with you? That at the end of the day, when you lay your head down, it's nothing. All you have to do is live with the demons inside of you for, you know, the shitty choices you've made. Like, that's like, I'm a very real, genuine person. If I like you, I like you. If I don't like you, I don't like you. That's probably why I don't have a contract yet, because I don't do politics. But like, that's what I want to be remembered for. Like, Jerry Lynn is probably one of the people I look up to the most, because everyone I've ever talked to, doesn't matter who the legend is, whether they wrestle or not, they will always tell you Jerry has always been a really nice, genuinely nice person. He has always helped people, and he's always, you know, went out of his way to help people. And to me, character speaks above talent for me. So I'm very fortunate. I do what I do, but that is what I want to be remembered for, is for just people being like, yeah, she was light and love her whole career. She's crazy, but she was light and love, you know? So, yeah.
I cannot thank you enough. This has been awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So, appreciate it. Seriously, this has been awesome. You've been super fun to work with this. Seriously, honestly, you've been the easiest one to like just contact with, and thank you. I cannot appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, if it wasn't for podcasters or promotions or fans, like, we as wrestlers would not be able to wrestle. Like, think about it, right? No one would know who I am if it wasn't for fans being like, oh man, this girl is super nice. Like, she, you know, like, she takes pictures with us. She does this. Like, I feel like if you're an asshole to your fans, no one's gonna care to see you or help you out, right? If a promoter doesn't promote you, if he doesn't put your picture on that flyer or now on the internet, right?
Mhm.
Or he doesn't take promo photos of you, if he doesn't give you a match where you can be highlighted, you're not going anywhere. If podcasters, because people listen to podcasts, especially in wrestling, and I'm sure I listen to stuff that isn't wrestling related podcasts too, right? But if people like, if people like you, interviewers, did not put our names out there, no one would know who we are.
Mhm.
All we are is word of mouth from other people. So
Yeah.
yeah, so thank you very much.
You're welcome. This has been awesome. So you leave me speechless every time. So
Oh, I wish it could be like this every time for everyone.
yeah,
So
thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.